Today we're going to be making the extremely popular Mexican rice. And the best part of this recipe is that we're not going to need a blender for it. Now the techniques I'm going to show you are not quite as conventional for making rice, but there's a reason why. In the end, we want delicious, fluffy, loose rice. So let's get started. I'm going to start our clock at about 3 minutes, as that's how long it usually takes for me to get the ingredients and equipment ready for this recipe. First, we're going to prepare 2 cups of water for 1 cup of long white grain rice, like jasmine rice, or Goya's Canilla or Canilla brand. Now, for long grain rice, you usually use 1.5 to 1 3/4 cups of water for 1 cup of rice. But since we're going to be bringing this water to a boil before we use it, we'll use 2 cups to compensate for evaporation. Okay, now we'll season our water to flavor our rice. 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/8 teaspoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of chicken bouillon, preferably the Knorr brand, and half a packet of sazon Goya for color, or you can use annatto, known in the Latin community as achiote. We mix and heat it up. Once it comes to a boil, we'll lower it to simmer until we need it for our rice. Now we prepare our common aromatics. We'll dice about 1/4 tomato, or about 3 tablespoons, and 1/4 onion, or again about 3 tablespoons. Here I'm using a red onion, but you should use the common yellow or even the white onion. The reason is because we're going to cook down our aromatics and the onions will get translucent and disappear into the rice. But the red onion will leave visual redness, so it's basically for aesthetics if anything. Okay, next we'll heat up another saucepan to medium-low heat and throw in 2 tablespoons of butter. Once the butter melts, we throw in our onions and tomatoes. We'll mix and coat them in butter. Once they're all nicely coated, we throw in our cup of rice. You can choose to wash your rice beforehand or not. I don't, as there's really no need. Most Latin cultures do out of habit or tradition, just like they wash their chicken. If you feel you need to, do so, but it will not affect the outcome. Although you should still check the rice for rocks, as they sometimes get mixed in. Okay, we mix to ensure we coat all our rice in the butter. Now you can coat the rice with any type of fat, but butter gives it a great flavor. Alright, we want to mix and toast the rice for about 5 minutes. Soon you should start smelling that glorious nutty toasted smell. After about 5 minutes of mixing and toasting, we lower the heat to low and carefully add our broth. Next, we slightly raise the heat to maintain the gentle simmer. Mix it around a bit and clean the sides of our pot. Now we let it simmer until our broth is just bubbling above the rice like shown here. You don't want to walk away here because before you know it, all the broth will evaporate. So once we get to this point, we cover our rice and try to get a tight seal to prevent as much steam loss as possible. I normally use a piece of foil between the pot and the lid to get a tighter seal. Now we lower the heat to the lowest setting and just leave it undisturbed for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we take it completely off the heat and let it finish cooking in its own steam for an additional 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, we open it up and fluff it up with a fork. Okay, our rice is ready to be served. It's loose, fluffy, and not broken. This rice tastes great and makes for a phenomenal side. You can serve it with a protein and a side of vegetables. Alright, this recipe took less than 40 minutes to make, but remember, 25 of those 40 minutes were inactive time, which can be used to make the rest of your dinner. If you love rice, you'll love this recipe. And don't worry if you don't get it right the first time. Don't give up. Trust me. We had cooks in our restaurants ruin 40 quarts of rice at a time before they got it right. Sometimes they burned it, didn't get a good seal and undercooked it, or covered it too soon and overcooked it, making a huge glop of rice. But don't worry, if you follow this procedure, you'll soon be making the best rice. Okay, I hope you give this recipe a try and thanks for watching. Oh, and the ingredients are in the description below.